Oops. Testing. Okay, I hope this is working and if people can actually hear me. Okay, so I'm using Restream again now that they fixed the bug. Hopefully that it isn't deleted for like the second time. So this is actually a repeat stream, which means basically I did this before, like last Tuesday, and then things got wonky. My live stream video got deleted. So previously I wasn't that well prepared. Now I think I am a little bit more well prepared, I guess. Well, in any case, so this is what it is. Alright, so this is something I prepared from a template that I hastily put together like yesterday. So from now on, I'll be uploading on top of my normal live stream content. I'll be also doing my vlogs, and vlogs are new. And I'll also be doing the live reading for the wife is first. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin this short, hopefully short, live stream session for mainstream versus niche. Feel free to comment and let me know if there's anything that you like to see or things that you like me to cover while on it. Okay, so some of the things that I'm going to cover today might be a little bit different from the previous live stream that some of you have seen. So I took out some and I added some. So most of this are going to be repeat stuff from all my previous live streams because there is no secret when it comes to web novel success. It's basically the same things all over again. Okay, so we're gonna go through themes, which I've covered a little bit in last week, so it's like genres and stuff like that. But we're gonna go a little bit more in details, and then we're gonna do target audiences, which I've also talked about in several other streams. Then platform, which I've done a very in-depth one that you can check out. I don't know, it was like a 2.5 hour stream, something like this. Yeah, so the various platforms and me testing it out, you can look at that if you want more details. Elements, this is a little bit new, so I'll be going through that today, as well as the conclusion, the pros and cons of whether or not you should opt for mainstream or niche web novel or hybrid. So honestly, I would just recommend a hybrid, but if you don't believe me, then you can try, like there's no harm in trying. Okay, so let's go to the first one. It's themes. Not yesterday. 2 days ago, I covered this. So we have current trend, new trend, evergreen trend, and fusion ideas. So first and foremost, current trend is something that if you're writing a web novel, the easiest to see is all their writing competitions. Like the WSA, they have 6 themes like first love, royal romance, transmigration, video games, and whatnots. So yeah, those are current trends. So they are trends that you can hop on and it will do well for a while. So the no good thing about hopping on a current trend and creating your work based on it is first and foremost, current trends only last for so long. It's like fashion statements. They don't go on forever. So once the fad runs out, your readers are gonna disappear as well. That's what I can say. So I can't say how long a current trend lasts for, but I'll say you will be looking to end the work in within 6 months to a year. Yeah, that's basically what I think you should be looking at when you do current trends. And then for new trends are a little bit hard to spot. You kind of need insider information to actually do that. Some people don't, but most people who are avid readers, I would say, they actually have an idea on how it works. So I'm not too worried about new trends. If you can't spot new trends, that's fine. If you want to know my opinions of some of the new trends that's coming out, watch the previous live stream. And then evergreen trends, this is basically a trend that would never die out. Like in the next 20 years or so, it will still continue to be popular. For example, Twilight kickstarted the vampire thingy. Actually, vampires, to be honest, like the undead and supernatural, has always been on the literature market. It has never died. So I kind of find it odd that people just, don't do this more often. So this is an evergreen trend idea that never dies because people still love dragons, people still love magic and wizards, people still love vampires and whatnots. Yeah, zombies are also part of it, even though it's not very popular because they are not sexualized enough in a good way. I hate to say this, but sex sells in like any industry. So if you go to media industry, you go to like movies and stuff like that. Female characters are overly sexualized sometimes. That they're just there for that element for the male audience, like eye candies, and that's their selling point. Most of the times, any art industry that you see will have this inside their content. So that's also an evergreen trend. Sex sells. It always does. It has their own market of readers. And then the last but not least in themes that I would recommend most people to look at is fusion ideas, because there's no point in choosing between mainstream and niche if you can have both. So the problem with mainstream is that a lot of mainstream, and I talk about mainstream only writers, they don't have original content. They are entrepreneur writers, which means they take all the popular things that are happening, do their market research. They are very good marketing analytics. Like, they analyze the market behavior and what's coming up, and then they write according to situation to get those earning charts. They are extremely good at that. So those are the problems with mainstream. You can read 10 mainstream books, and literally all 10 mainstream books would sound or like kind of feel the same. They just change like maybe a character's name, a character's look, and maybe the pets that they have. But that's about it. Everything else in the arcs that you read are repeated. For example, if you're gonna be writing a mainstream work about a character who is weak to strong, and then you say that he starts off, "Hello, Yash." So and then you say that he starts off in a small village that he's born in, and he's like the strongest person. So he becomes the strongest in the village, and then he says, "Oh, I need to grow, and I need to go to a magic school or something like this, or a night school or something like this." And then he goes to the city, and he becomes the strongest person in the city, and then the king likes him, and then he becomes the strongest person in the country. Then he's sent on a business trip or somewhat, like, to save the world. And when he saved his empire, the continent, the country, and he's like, "Oh, you know what, let's go marry the neighboring country's princess or something," and then he conquers the world. And what next? If the story doesn't end here, then the author who is a mainstream author might think, "Okay, what's the next popular thing that happens logically? I can either bring devils from hell, or I can bring the gods from heaven down, or I can make him just go on an infinite adventure in a multiverse. So he goes to another planet, or he goes to another dimension, and it just keeps going until the readers get so bored of it that the author decides to smite it out and end the series because it's not making money." That is your mainstream books. It's not gonna change. And I honestly, I don't hate them. I don't hate mainstream books because it gives you that kind of addiction and thrill, doesn't it? But I still think that, as an author, as a content creator, a little bit of originality should be, a given. But mainstreamers just don't have that, and that's the problem. But another thing about mainstream versus niche is that if you are a niche idea and your idea is original, like completely original, too original, let me just give you an example, okay? So if you have a story that revolves around a tragic love affair or something, where reincarnation is there, but then they don't believe in God, and then when they die and God tries to bring them back, and the woman's just like, "You know what, fuck you, God, I don't have a religion, I don't need to play by your rules." And then God gets so angry, and then he kind of like curses her. "Okay, then you go back as a zombie, as an undead." So this is the kind of idea that becomes too original, that makes it extremely niche. And if you don't put in any mainstream elements to fuse that idea together, it's not gonna sell. You're not gonna be able to hit the readers out there who already exist. You gotta start from nothing. And chances are, when so many books are coming in and the readers just have no time to select, they just choose whatever that web novel gives them. Nobody really uses the search tags, and even if they do and you don't tag them accurately, you're gonna not have any readers at all. That's niche. It's not to say that you're writing a terrible story. It can be very entertaining, it can be very original, it can be the next big hit. But because you are not leveraging on the system that web novel has, you're not making use of the actual resources that you can be using, you're gonna lose all these potential readers that haven't gotten the chance to know your works. So in to counter this negative side of creating original content in a niche form, I would suggest you choose fusion ideas instead for your themes. This I've actually talked about a little bit in like the last stream, and I've taught you the art of catfishing, how to make fusion books that is mainstreamish but niche content by niche authors. You can succeed by doing this. So I would suggest you check it out if you want to know how to do it. But other than that, I'll be moving on. So for the viewers here, just feel free to ask me any questions if you have any. I will still answer them in between. Okay, so the next one is about target audience. I have done this before in the stream about how to create a best-selling web novel work. So this is in like part 1 of it. So if you want to know more, you can go over there. So I'll just briefly go through this. Target audiences are your readers and your potential paying customers. So think of it as a business. If you are going to be writing for like, you're going to be writing a book, and you're not going to be writing just for your self satisfaction. You want to be writing for a group of people. What is that group of people you are targeting at? For example, maybe I'm suicidal and I just want to write a book to let people know that, hey, this is my story, this is my life, I'm gonna die soon, so please read my book. So what am I going to target? I'm going to be targeting people who also feel the same way. I'm also going to be targeting people who can relate to me best, who are depressed, who are suicidal, who are emos, who are misunderstood, who are misfits of life. Yes, that is who I'm going to be targeting. So, not necessarily on whether they are paying or not, but if your aim is to make money out of writing, then your target audience should be people who has money. For example, you're not going to be targeting high school kids because the chances of them actually paying for such stuff is not very high. They are very good at searching for free options, aka piracy, which we all hate, but know that they might be your biggest fans. They're just broke. They can't afford what you have, so targeting them is not gonna help. You should be looking at targeting their parents who has the earning power to give them money to spend to read your books. Like, how many people actually save up money as a kid to buy Harry Potter when the newest book is out? I honestly can tell you, I was like probably one of the only kids who did it, and the rest of them just had their moms and dads just line up behind them for the newest release of books. And I was so broke at that time. I went to my friend, I was like, oh, you bought the new book, after you read it, can I borrow it so I don't have to buy it? Yeah, that's how it is. So your target audiences might be the young kids. So if you hook them on a first series like a young kid, and then you want their parents to pay, so you have to think, okay, if I'm gonna make their parents pay, am I gonna put smut in that their parents disapprove of? Do I really want to do that? Do I want to include profanities and adult languages if I'm looking for their parents to pay for my books? These are the things. So if you're writing for a young audience and you're looking to earn, this is some of the consideration. So things like your reader's gender, age, and their reading preferences and genres actually matter a lot. So if you're a web novel writer, you can go to the dashboard. So these snapshots are actually taken from the web novel backend. So it's on Inkstone. Every book has a specific stat board, and I can tell you that of all the e-platforms that I've been to, that I've reviewed on the extremely long stream, web novel still has the best in terms of statistics. So you might not understand everything, but everything you need to know that's important is there. And your target audiences are under demographics, so you can tell by their country, you can tell by their gender, you can even tell when they read your books. So that one's interesting. You can actually plan when to do a release, because that's when the most people actually come to read your books. So you can, get them to spread it to their friends who will, do free marketing for you essentially. This is your target market. So in a mainstream versus niche web novel thing, okay, I would say that niche web novels will see a lot less of people in like a diversity, because they don't really find this kind of books. Most avid readers, I'll say avid readers who actually look for niche, would be slightly more educated. I hate to say this, but People who don't actually read books and only read web novels and prefer to watch movie than read an actual paperback book are not considered educated readers. Like most of the time, they just read for entertainment. It's not for like, a life seeking journey or an enlightenment or an experience. No, 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 no. None of that sort, okay? The only kind of people who would read books and treat them like, precious artifacts are people like me who are complete nerds on the inside, even though we don't seem that way, or those who are in the education or academic industry. Just that. It's just that. So the ones who are coming to your niche always seem to have opinions that are slightly, elevated compared to the rest of the people who are coming to read mainstream novels, who have this, immature attitude towards life. So you can see for yourself, like the top earners, how many toxic readers do they have, even though they earn a lot. That the reason why it happens is because these mainstream readers are usually not very highly educated, and a lot of them are just bitter at life because they don't succeed, and they like to take it out on people, other people, and the author that they read just happens to be a very easy target. That's why it happens. It sucks, but it's true. So, target audiences, please beware of who you are targeting when you write the book and who you want the book to reach. So, things like your title and everything that I will be talking about later actually matters once you decide on your set target. Any questions so far that I can answer? By the way, I found a very interesting Chinese drama audio CD. It's BL though, but I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. And I thought I recognized the voice, but I could be wrong. Came from the Untamed drama CD itself. Okay, so the third point I'm speeding through tonight because this is a repeat stream. So any questions I will take on my Discord if you miss the live stream. Okay, so platforms, like you see some of it over here. We have Webnovel, Tapas Good Novel, and Wattpad. I I would say that Webnovel is by far the one with the biggest reader platform and marketing efforts. Writer incentives, not so. If you're looking for a fixed pay and you live in a country with um, very low, not really. Like you don't need a lot to survive in a month. Not standard of living, cost of living. Yeah, that's it. With very low cost of living, um, you can actually opt for Good Novel because Good Novel gives you a fixed payout based on the amount of words that you write every month, and it's usually better because Web Novel fixes it. The highest you can actually earn for writing a fixed amount of words in a month, like daily, is 200 USD, which probably isn't enough for anyone anywhere. But Good Novel offers up to, I can't remember, was it 300 or 400 USD a month, which is quite sufficient for some countries. So yeah. So when you choose your platform to actually create a book for your target audience, before you decide whether you want to post niche or mainstream, you gotta actually decide what kind of book you want to make and which platform is best for your book. So if you're gonna be okay, if it's Yang Lin, I'm not sure if he's here today, but if it's Yang Lin and he is a very hardcore supporter and avid fan of writing xianxia like Eastern fantasy, I still think that web novel is the place to be because web novel comes from a Chinese company and a lot of books there that are translated has that category, so it becomes mainstream for web novel. But if you talk about across the board, all the e-fiction platforms, it is a niche. Eastern fantasy is a niche. It's just not a niche on web novel itself. So that is a little bit strange. And then if you really want to write niche and you have a feeling that web novel is not the place to be, even though it has a big reader base, it's okay. You are right. If you really want to do original content that is welcomed, your creator's heaven is going to be tapas. They might not have a very big pool of readers, but they have a very strict community policy. So you will not see toxic readers there. You also will not see like a spike in readers like, oh, a few million views in just a few months. No, no, no. If you get a few hundred in a month, it's considered very good for tapas itself. But the community over there, the creator community over there, is so strong that it is perfect for niche authors to do their testing, market testing. So a lot of them, what they do, Royal Road is kind of the same as Tapas, like similar. So they are closer towards self-publishing. So for those people who are actually writing on Tapas, writing on Royal Road, and then you test the waters there, and the readers actually like it, you can actually turn it into a paperback book and you can advertise. They are very friendly towards your self promotions of your Patreon accounts. So, what I did was I wrote a Omegaverse BL kind of story. I posted it in several places. The one that has the most feedback and like the highest turnover rate from reader into paying readers on my Patreon was from Tapas. So you can see Tapas also has a little bit of a subjective niche market where most of their readers are like me, so they are like a little bit more educated and they are females. So if you're educated and you're female and you're secretly a romantic, you would go towards like, romance, you would go towards like BL and all the fantasy fictions and whatnot. They don't tend to do very well, although I've seen horror stories, supernaturals, criminal psychology. You have all kinds. There's a creator's heaven. It's just whether or not you get the readers that you want to get. So Godfather World is on Tapas. It's not doing as well as Time Cross Academy, my BL work. For obvious reasons, it's not BL. But there are readers over there who are hardcore supporters of Godfather World that have tried to convert themselves into paying readers who offer like advanced chapters on Patreon for that work itself. So that is something you could consider if you are insistent in doing niche without fusion. Tapas might be your most ideal, or Royal Road. Okay, so yeah, good novel is pretty much mainstream, but for female romance genres and Wattpad is a little bit strange. They are very strong on the evergreen trope in female romance and nothing else. Except if you're a fanfiction writer, then that is your heaven. Because that's where all the lurkers are. And you will receive a lot of scouts who are looking at your profiles, especially on Wattpad. So I get queries on a monthly basis. I just deleted like 2 this week, from editors elsewhere from different companies, just trying to pull you to their platform, especially if you write on Wattpad. I don't know why. But this is the platform that if you want to be scouted, if you want to be offered a contract immediately, maybe you could try it on Wattpad. I'm not too sure. Mainstream does well on Wattpad, but only for certain genres. And niche, it just gets like, unfound on Wattpad, no matter how hard you update. So in web novel, it's different. In web novel, if you update daily, if you do like 3 chapters a day, even if your quality is not so good, your English is not so good, you will still get readers daily. Wattpad, you can do the same thing and you can just dream about getting those readers. That's just about it. So platform's important. Depending on whether you are a mainstream or niche writer, the platform can make or kill the success of your story. Okay, so Elements, this one's new. Right, on the previous stream, I actually did a case study based on my books itself, but today I'm not gonna do simply because I'm using a different streaming platform. Yes. Yes, I have 4 over here. So what makes a mainstream and what makes a niche a niche? Okay, there are 4 things that actually total up to the expectations of readers when it comes to it. So how do they judge if this is going to be a mainstream work that they like, or how are they going to judge if this is a niche work that they are not keen on following because niche is not their thing? Okay, first and foremost, you have your book cover. So book cover depends on the platform again. If you're going to be writing on good novel, okay, good novel prefers photo bash, so like realistic photographs, somewhat closer to Amazon style photos. You're going to have to follow that in order to blend in with the crowd. And if yours is like an animated cover, chances are it's not gonna do so well because people will judge. And then on web novel itself, everybody is like, almost everybody is into anime. So if you have a hot by shonen guy or you have a hot bishoujo, it's just, it will get you the readers that you want, especially if you're driving mainstream. And best still, they allow you to put just basically just anything on web novel as a book cover, except nudity, explicit nudity, but it can come really close. So you can actually put something that is really lewd but covered on Webnovel, and you can't do that on places like Good Novel. You can't do that on places like Tapas because of community guidelines. So this is your selling point. If you take a look at Webnovel itself, the cover for My Little Brother's Cultivation Heaven or something like this, it's a little bit explicit. Yeah, so you have all those boobs dropping out of very skimpy dresses, and it works. It just works for them, and that's just mainstream elements, you know. Hello, Whip Psycho TV. Right, and then after the book cover, because the picture is what draws in the reader first, we know that we shouldn't actually judge a book by its cover, but you know, most people just ignore this and they just zoom in on the cover. So once they zoom in on the cover, the next thing they're going to zoom in on is the title. And this title is going to be your speech, your how do I say, your promised elevator speech kind of thing. You are going to have to use this title to tell your readers in 5 words or less on what the heck this book is going to be about. So if you're going to tell me something like Eden eats burger, so we know that this book is about some guy called Eden, and we know this book is about something with burgers. So I'm going to guess that it's a cooking slice of life gourmet kind of book. But then if your story turns out to be Eden eats burger, and then you have this adventure on how he goes through gets eaten by a giant, and then goes through his digestive system and stuff like that, and I think that's a little bit too far out to be a good title to actually hook anybody. So I'll go into how to make a captivating title, especially if you're looking for mainstream and catfishing later on. And then the last but not least, because web novel, especially if you're writing for web novel, it has a feature slot. So if you're lucky enough to get a feature slot, don't waste your opportunities. A feature slot only gives you like the cover, the title, and like the first 2 lines, like maybe the first 20 words. So you want to fit the first 20 words in the synopsis over there as something that is true to what your book is gonna sell. Sell. The keyword here is sell, okay? Not about who the character is, how the world is built. No, 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 no. Sell as in what the reader is going to expect and what the reader is going to get. So if your book is about I'm gonna kill 400 people in this story, right? In the first 20 words that 400 people are gonna die and you're gonna kill them. If your book is about someone actually falling in love, just write in like the first 20 words that this is a love story, so that people don't have false expectations, and that when they see the keywords in the synopsis, they will click in and they will edit in. So yeah, people don't actually read the full synopsis. I've done this test on my readers, and I can say like less than 5% of them actually read the entire synopsis before they read my book. They just read the title, they saw the cover, they saw Ein Summer, they saw the reviews in 5 stars, and they're like, I'm gonna read this shit. And then they go to the first chapter and they're like, this shit's good, let me go next. Yeah. And then the dropping point is when they see, oh my god, I need to either fast pass or use coins, fuck it. So that's the first dropping point. Yeah, so anyways, that synopsis thing is going to determine the make or your break of the book. The last but not least, it's a little less known, but you know, you can use tags. For those of you who are fans of social media, you know how powerful hashtags are. Same thing on web novel, especially web novel, you're given 10, and I'll teach you how to use them maximized, like the efficiency of those things. So this is a little meme kind of that I made. I'm not a very pop culture meme kind of person that I borrowed this from my last stream, but I'm a One Piece fan. Anybody who is not a One Piece fan can fight me and you will die. Right? So your cover should look something like that. Your synopsis should feel something like that. But your plot can be just anything. So this is what it is. Kind of true if you think about it. So One Piece is a good marketing strategy as well. So first things first, your book cover needs to have an audience appeal. For example, let me give you... Hello, Soundhammer. Nice to see you again. You suck at writing synopsis. Don't worry, I'll go through. There is a golden formula format. I've actually gone through this before, but I'll go through again for you. So first things first, audience appeal. Audience appeal is a visual technique. So colors matter. Colors matter a lot in the readers, especially in the genders that you want to attract. If you're going to be attracting females, you don't want to use, bluish, like dark gray, green, brown colors. Like, no, you don't want any of that. But if you're gonna be attracting like the very dark readers, the one who like the angst, the one who like the pain, the agony, yeah, just use black. It work. And then if you want to attract those like very simple and clean and light read kind of readers, use light colors. Use things like white, like light yellow, light blue, that kind of thing. You know, it's a psychology thing. You can actually Google this on the internet. It's a marketing strategy. Like colors actually matters. And if you really want to make things like, oh, I'm selling sex, use red. I don't know why, but just use red. It actually works. If you put a picture of a lady, the same lady in a dress that's in red, and the same lady in a dress that's like, I don't know, purple, they can tell you that they give different vibes. So red is like that, oh my god, I need to bang this slut. And then purple is somewhat like, oh my god, this is elegant, like midnight morning glory kind of thing. Like I can't touch them, but they're nice to look at. You know, book covers are the same thing. So audience appeal. Decide carefully, and then after that, readable title. I cannot explain how many times I've seen on the Inkstone and Discord and the general chats and whatnot of people are like, oh my god, I designed this cover by myself. How does this font look? And then you see that the fonts are all curvy and not in a way that is easy to read because it blends into the book. Then the font color that they use is blue. Like, girl, why would you do that? Use white or something. Like, the easiest way to identify font covers is generic. If you have a dark background, use something that's light. Use white. If you have a light background, use something that's dark, black. Or you can even use outlines on the titles. It doesn't matter. Just make them big. Make them legible. And then, please, don't position your titles of the book in such an odd manner that covers the face of. I don't even know why people do this. They just like, put a sensor kind of bubble thing on somebody's crotch on the lower, like the bottom part of the book, and then they're like, yes, this is my title. Why would you do that? Like, you could shift it a little bit, like that's not a great book cover. Yeah, so the easiest way to actually design a book cover, honestly speaking, we have the technology, people. I am not sponsored, but I wish I was, by Canva. You can use Canva to design book covers and then resize it in PowerPoint or something. It's not gonna kill you. Okay, I know Webnovel has like the weirdest size format. It's like 800 by 600 pixels for some fucking reason, and I always hate that. But yeah, make the title legible. You can somehow make a good title that pops out when in like the sea of new cover books that everybody sees, like the hundreds of it by the day. And then the last but not least is author representation. This one, I actually got this from Bryce. So Bryce is one of my content editors. I say one of because I have several contracted books, so I have contracted almost every single content editor. I hope. No, actually, no. I still haven't gotten Qian Yu. I still haven't gotten JJ. I still haven't gotten How. Yeah, I have like, like catching editors like Pokemon at this point. But anyway, Bryce told me that author representation is something that actually sets you apart from all the other writers, especially if you have many works. So readers who like your style automatically know that this is your work when they style. So you can think of that. It's a very good example is putting a little bit of a something that represents you as an author discreetly in your book. Some people like to use it like a logo. Some authors have already created their personal logos, like his personal logo, because he was writing manga, like he was drawing manga before he actually did web novels, and it stuck. So he placed it somewhere discreet on his books, and it becomes a personal brand. You want to do that as well, author representation. As for myself, my artist friend Crustalos, who designed my cover for Time Cross Academy and Godfather World, actually told me that my cover, my author representation is very much my color scheme. If you don't know it yet, my favorite color is actually purple, like dark purple, and I'm a huge fan of black because it's the color of my soul and, like, the coffee I drink. And yeah, I'm a sucker for this color scheme, and I haven't changed it in forever. And then the last but not least, copyright. So you have to know, if you choose a cover and you're gonna be writing mainstream or you're gonna be writing niche on web novel, you might not get featured that often, especially outside of web novel, because you are using someone like Ain Sama for your cover, like I did, Monarch of Solitude. You're gonna risk yourself not getting an opportunity to be featured on Instagram. Because if I put Monarch of Solitude on an Ain Sama picture and I don't own Ain Sama, chances are Webnovel is not gonna want to risk that legal case with the original artist and story creator of Overlord for just this one book that isn't actually that popular at all. Just to boost their social media profiles and stuff like that. So make sure to invest in an original art when you actually earn some back from web novel itself. So reinvestment is always a good idea for mainstream works. For niche works, honestly, even if you can put just a cover with just fonts and no pictures, that's fine because it's niche anyways. People don't judge the cover of a book that much in a niche novel. So yeah, you can explore with a niche novel, but not so in mainstream. You gotta actually follow strictly to the guidelines that I'm telling you now for mainstream novels. Right, so these are some of my book covers, and you can tell which one is mainstream, you can tell which one is niche right off the bat. So, not readers, viewers who are on stream, would you like to try and guess which one is mainstream and which one is niche work? Okay, let's go from left to right. Okay, the first one, Time Cross Academy. Do you think it's mainstream or do you think it's niche? So I'll count to 5. You can type your answers in chat, and then I'll let you know. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Time Cross Academy, like I said, is a BL work. So BL is always going to be niche. And yes, this cover is actually designed by my BFF, Karastala. So yes, thank you very much, Crystal. Right, and then the second one actually, Ball of Nothing. This is, do you want to guess if this is a mainstream or a niche? I think this is gonna be a trick question. Simply because it's looks cute. Main? Ah, nande. Okay. The answer is Ball of Nothing is actually not mainstream. But the editor tried their best to catfish mainstream readers. Therefore, this picture itself is mainstream edit. The book itself is a hybrid. So this is a trick question. Okay, so moving on. Let's try the third one, the one in the center. So that one's Liberal Assassin. A little bit of a backstory while you guess if it's mainstream or niche is this author took 2 years to publish this. It's self-published, by the way, because I was suicidal. So this book was rewritten like 3 times. I had to rewrite the whole thing 3 times because I changed the ending of it. So initially the first ending was that he went insane, he destroyed the world and killed everyone. And then the second one was about he turned himself in and he became like the martyr and like self-sacrificed himself, and so he had a miserable ending while everybody else was okay. And then the third ending was that he had a second chance, that people liked him and that he survived, and he changed his occupation because he absolutely hated what he did in his previous life, changed his identity to coin a new name and stuff like that. This is Liberal Assassin. So do you think it's a mainstream or a niche novel? Oh, and Soundhammer is right. Ball of Nothing is a mainstream cover edit. It's just a niche novel hybrid. So that was that. So Liberal Assassin, any guesses so far? Oh, by the way, Liberal Assassin's genre is sci-fi, but it's a dystopian cyberpunk. Yeah, the right one is dystopian cyberpunk. That's the actual category. I think I just gave it away. It's niche. Yes, dystopian cyberpunk will never be mainstream. Come on, guys. Okay, and then the next one, survival bunker system developer. This edit. Okay, we just talk about the cover itself. Is it mainstream or is it niche? And this one is actually published on Ringdom. So the people who actually want to know about Ringdom, please check out my blog. I've written about it before, and I've probably covered about this in like several other videos. So I'm not going to talk about Ringdom today. But is this cover itself niche or not? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the answer is This is mainstream. This is not niche. So the reason why survival bunker system developer is mainstream is because of the way it was edited. It's very Amazon-like. I would say very Amazon-like. But the only thing I dislike about this is, remember what I talked about earlier? I said the fonts and everything has to be readable. Where was it? Is it here? Yeah, I said readable title, okay? Take a look at this thing here. Like, okay, of all five covers, you can see that there are very distinct places of titles that you can read. Ball of Nothing, very clear. Liberal as in not, so that's like niche content. So that band actually, that design of cover, I'll explain later on. There is a reason for that, but there is no reason for like the system, the survival bunker system developer to look like this. If you see my author's name, I don't know if you can actually see it on like the stream itself. I don't know if you can see it, but my name is in Disney font, even though my title cover and font is like dystopian metal grunge. And then they gave me a Disney font for my writer's name. Like, what is wrong with the? They call themselves marketing team and like design experts of book covers at Ringdom, and they gave me this, and I told them to specifically change it before I approved, and it still turned out like this. So you tell me if I have to be mad at Ring them or not? I don't know if they've improved now because the two editors that I worked with previously kind of left, and then I'm stuck with someone who doesn't speak English all that well, so I feel like I'm giving up on Ringdom. But yeah, Ringdom's book, Survival Bunker, the system developer, is mainstream, and lo and behold, it is also a mainstream book. It's a sellout book though, so yeah, so it's zombie apocalypse basically. Zombie apocalypse with sci-fi and reincarnation. So that's like super mainstream, and I hated myself for doing that. But it's done, and I won best spot, so I earned like what $1,000 from it. So it's like anything more than what Webnovel will ever pay me for doing anything. And I only wrote like I don't know 100,000 words, 100,000 words for $1,000. Like hey, that's a good deal. Like thinking back, it's a good deal. But I don't think I will ever work with Ringdom again. So yeah, that's that. And then the last one, Fons Vitae. Fons Vitae is actually, I think it's Latin, means fountain of life, and this is actually done by one of my friends, past friends. We're no longer in keeping in contact. So Zelovicious did this Fons Vitae. It's my very first book. The one that I self-published is about 60,000 words long. I paid like $3,000 to editors who actually did nothing to help me with this book and just criticize me and tell me that I'm not a good writer and that I shouldn't write anything. Like, I don't deserve to publish. And yeah, it was toxic, it was bad, and I paid them for that. Like, I don't know if it's good or not. I think it's bad, but I also feel like, I don't know what I was doing back then. I was like depressed, I was suicidal, my parents were divorced, and I had no self identity, and my life was a whole lie, and that was basically what it was. So Fons Vitae is a lucid dream. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. But that's like the work that's a shame of my life. So is this a mainstream work or a niche work? I can tell you I came out with that design concept art for myself. And as you can tell, I keep close to my my black and purple theme. You can see all my covers. If it's not blue, it's black. If it's not black, it's purple. It's all there. So Fons Vitae, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's actually a niche work because it's gay. It's a niche work because it's gay. And basically, it's surreal magic realism. It's surreal magic realism. So it's niche work. I don't know if it ever looks main. I don't think it looks main. It's not a main kind of design cover. No, it's not. It's niche. It's definitely niche, okay? So in here I have good examples and I have bad examples of what a book cover should look like. If you want to do mainstream, go for Ball of Nothing or go for Survival Bunker System Developer. If you don't want to do mainstream, you go for the other three. So we call it vector art. For Time Cross Academy, that is a vector art style. So it was an experimental art that Karastelos was actually doing, and everything was done using mouse. She didn't draw anything. So that's kind of interesting. And the color scheme as well, it's a pop color scheme. So it's a what we call contradictory neon something. I can't remember, but anyways, it's superly unique in itself, and it's terrible in a sense whereby you can't actually see the title up close at first glance. You gotta actually really squint in a little bit to see the fonts. The fonts, I gotta say, she did a great job. It's all customized fonts. Can you see that? You will not find these fonts out there. Not all of them. Like I think she definitely edited some of them and drew some of them on. So this is Time Cross Academy in itself. I think she did something similar for Godfather's World, which I can't show you here now because I didn't prepare it. Ball of Nothing. Um, Apart from the thing that really irks me is why is my writer's name on top of my title? That's one thing I cannot understand. But other than that, this is a very good example of how a mainstream cover should look like, that you should look at. The fonts are very clear. Can you see the contrasting color scheme? That's how you should design your book cover. And then the third one, Liberal Assassin. I actually had a story when I designed this, as I do with most of my works. Okay, so this one is it's very clear, cyberpunk dystopian. So the colors are used as such on top, the top half, before that ribbon title, which I have to say is a terrible design because you can't actually see the title or my author's name. You have to really squint. But that is the main purpose of it. It's meant to act as a barrier. You're not supposed to look too deeply into it. You're supposed to see the two very contrasting images. The top as in the city itself that's full of technology and developed and rich. And then the one at the bottom is like the slums, full of snow and desolate. So this is the concept of it, which is why it's a very niche idea as seen from the art itself. So yeah, and then Survivor Bunker is a photo bash. So except for the part of the font choices and maybe the color, everything else is exactly how you would want it to be in a mainstream book cover. And then the last but not least is Fonts Vitae, which I think is great if you are looking for contrasting pop out image and a very strong visual representation. So the colors itself just grips you in the book title as well. It's just not a great book title because it's firstly not in a language that most people know. They don't know what to expect from this, so that's what I was talking about earlier. You gotta know what to expect from something based on the title itself. Time Cross Academy, niche title. Reason being, Time Cross Academy doesn't give you anything about Time Cross. They don't know why it's Time Cross. They only know Academy, so they are thinking it's kind of a school. And from the depiction of the picture, they know, oh, it's a BL love story in a school, and it's probably supernatural, so that's what they get. Not a very great example if you want to do mainstream titling. Ball of Nothing, even worse. Doesn't give you an image of anything, but based on the cover itself, they're like, oh, it's a black hole. So is this the ball of nothing? So it's talking about a black hole? Could this be? They have to read the synopsis to find out. So this is not a very good title as well. The Liberal Assassin. This might be a good title for mainstream work, even if it's niche. It's actually niche, but it's great because it tells people that it's a story about an assassin, and it's not just an assassin. It gives a character. It's liberal, so someone who fights for freedom, essentially, but an assassin who fights for freedom. Liberal Assassin is a great mainstream title, but the book is niche. Survival Bunker System Developer is just completely web novel style mainstream. Why? System is a keyword that you should be including in titles. Survival Bunker tells you it's a bunker system itself. And then developer tells you that the main character is a tech geek. So you already have the gist of it all. And then if you see the book cover itself, you have a programmer, and then you have zombies in the background. So it tells you everything that the book is without even having to read the synopsis. You know, zombies, developer slash hacker slash system. Okay, if you're into this stuff, this is the book for you. So this is like a very good mainstream strategy itself, 100 over 100. And then Fonts Vitae, as I explained before, it's not even in English, so don't do this unless it's niche and you're writing for yourself, which I think I was back then, but not anymore. Okay, so enough of this section, let's move on. So title, like I was saying earlier, catchy, keywords, memorable. Of all the books before that, which one was most memorable? I don't know. You form your opinions and then you let me know in the chat. So moving on. Synopsis. Yes, Soundhammer was asking this earlier, so let me just get into it. This is the golden format, not by me. It's by the content editor, Bryce. So this works well for male lead. Yes, male lead. It works well for male lead. Yeah, mainstream male lead. Actually, it works very well for this. So I'm going to give you an example. So before I go into the example, I'm going to give you. So first and foremost, start with a memorable quote by the MC. MC means main character itself. And then introduce the main character and the golden finger. At this point, a lot of people will stop me. So I'm just going to continue before you stop me. What is the golden finger? Basically, a golden finger is what makes the main character unique, aka his special powers, aka his plot armor, aka the thing that makes him the main character. For example, in a world full of normal people, there's this one guy who is Superman. So Superman's golden finger is him being alien and immune to basically everything that people die from. And he's only weak to kryptonite. So that is his golden finger. So another very, very strong example. For example, in a world full of, I don't know, let me think. I actually don't know. Okay, in a world full of dramas and politics in the palace, your main character's golden finger is she reincarnates 20 years from the future and knows exactly who's gonna kill who's gonna marry who cheats on who gives birth to who, and who is a slut. Yeah. So that is your main character's golden finger. Her memories from the future, 20 years. So this is what I mean by golden finger. You gotta write it into your synopsis. So first 20 words. Can you see this? You gotta include this first 2 points in the first 20 words. And then after that, you introduce the world, and then you introduce the plot, like what's gonna happen. And then the last but not least is a one-liner. It's a call to action, CTA. Call to action is simple enough. You know, when you actually hear people trying to sell you things on the internet, and you hear all these advertisement videos and like, shop now on Shopee and something like this, or download the app, that is call to action. Oh yeah, that's great as well. So golden finger is in a world full of poor people. His golden finger, he is rich, aka Batman. By the way, I like Batman more than Superman. So just saying, I'm a Batman kind of person more than Superman kind of person. I don't know why, but I dislike Superman a lot for some reason. Maybe because he's too fake. He's like the male version of a Mary Sue. I don't know. I just can't help but dislike Superman. I like Batman more. Besides, Superman's dumb. Hate to say this, but he kind of feels dumb to me. Well, anyways, let's give you a concrete example. So this is a synopsis taken from the very early version of Godfather. Well, oops. It's not perfect, but it's somewhat there. So the first one is a quote. And then, if bad guys rule the world, then let me be the devil and send them all to hell. Zentaro, 15 years old, rank 382 in the Godfather World system. So can you see? These are all just SEO tags and keywords over here. So people are like, oh my god, bad guys rule the world, devil, hell. And then they see system. They're like, yes, sign me up. This is what you should be selling. And then in the second one, you introduce the world as well as your character itself. So the world is ruled by criminals, so civilians live a shit life. This is the world introduction. And then you give a little bit of backstory over there. So after getting shot to death for doing good, civilian 3207 takes his complaints to God. Civilians are humans too. And then the next one, this is the character's background. So by the grace of God, he gets shoved into the body of Taro family's third young master, Zentaro, with the ability to learn at hyperspeed. The ability to learn at hyperspeed is his golden finger. Okay? Then you introduce the plot now. His mission, represent his family to participate in the Godfather World system designed for heirs aged 15 to 18 from the top 500 criminal organizations. The first to clear the system or becomes the last one standing becomes the new Godfather. And then now you add in something that hooks in the reader. The problem? He just reincarnated and has no useful skills or connections. This over here is your call to action. Can he survive the crazy VR world and battle royale to emerge as the new Godfather? Read as he struggles all the way to the top. Read is a keyword and a call to action. You want your readers to read, so get them to fucking read. Tell them to read it, and then tell them why they should read it. So this is how to actually design a mainstream synopsis good enough to sell and good enough to catch most readers' attention. You won't get all your readers to stay, but you can get them to start reading at least the first paragraph or the first chapter. I mean, yeah, like you said, your readers are complaining to you about you're not creating overpowered characters. In the last stream, you said that. And if you're not writing an overpowered character, then just fuck them. Like, don't listen to them. Like, that's not your thing. Then you don't have to write it. Godfather World just happens to be something similar. Of like a overpowered character. He's actually not an overpowered character. He's like a useless guy full of charm, and he's surrounded by a lot of, like, insane people who are overly powered, and who's like, deadly children, because they are like assassins, but they are like kids on the inside. They are damaged individuals, and Zen happened to be the only one sane enough to be like a mother who accepts all these lost kids from life. Yeah, so that's Godfather's World story. It's not exactly what it sounds like. I changed it later on to a more niche kind of synopsis because I absolutely hated how this sounds so mainstream, and people read into it. They're like, "Oh, this is so cute," but the synopsis is completely misreading them, and I don't want to attract the people who are looking for guts, glory, blood. That kind of readers. Yeah, this is the kind of readers you get if you write it this way. But this is also very, very mainstream that sells. So it's really strange and it's really funny. It's really up to you. So you can do a fusion, which I will talk about later. Fusion is kind of like mixing in a little bit of expectations that people want to see, and then putting a disclaimer of what you actually be doing. So feel free to let me know if you have any more questions with the synopsis. I can still answer it as I go on. So number 4 is actually tags. So this is part of the element. So like I said, Webnovel has 10 tags. And the 10 tags that they have, you want to use 3 of them for mainstream tags. Mainstream tags, for example, system, for example, magic, for example, fantasy. These are very mainstream tags. The reason why you include mainstream tags is just so that, when people search it out in general and they're like, oh, it has this, okay, I sign up for it. That's the only reason. But if you want to maximize it, you want to actually top the search charts for niche tags. Honestly, that is not very difficult. For example, in Godfather's World case, mainstream would be mafia. Mainstream would be system. Non-mainstream would be something like bromance. Non-mainstream would be something like no romance. Non-mainstream is something like cooking, because that's what it is. And then I made this food porn hashtag. I didn't make it. Maomi made it, and I just tagged on. So like, we are the only 2 books in there with food porn. Yay, we topped the charts. It's not difficult to top the charts. It's just entertaining. And then people who actually come in and they see the tags and they're like, oh my god, this is so interesting. They have system, but they have bromance, and it's no romance, bromance. So it's like a I love you, bro, no homo kind of vibe, which is exactly what it is. So that's how you actually maximize the use of tags to sell your books to the readers who actually want to see it. Okay, Soundhammer says my synopsis is 3 sentences long. This is bad. Synopsis doesn't have to be very long, so yeah, it doesn't have to be very long. Soundhammer, are you in my Discord? If you're in my Discord, you can post a query there in the writer's corner, and if I have time and I see it, I'll answer in detail. Yeah, it's not difficult to craft one. Like, just look at this. If you answer every single thing that's here, you have at least 4 lines, okay? But literally, okay, memorable quote, MC name, 1 line. MC introduction, 2nd line. Golden finger, 3rd line. World intro, 4th line. Plot, 5th line. Or maybe 4th line, because you can combine these 2 sometimes. And then last one, call to action, 5th line. So if you actually follow this, it's at least 5 lines. So 3 sentences is a little bit, you're missing something somewhere. That's what I like to say. It's not difficult to write a synopsis, honestly. Oh, and if you are a contracted author on Webnovel server, they actually host what was that called, VCs, voice channels. Like, they host meetings. The editors host meetings that you can ask their opinions for your synopsis. It is actually something that they do. So yeah, just selling for them. Okay, so now we are moving to mainstream pros and cons. So pros of mainstream is you are able to catfish your readers, and then you're able to get more views, obviously, because all the search tags you want are there, and the people were like, oh my god, I think this is it, and then they hit and they miss, and they're like, oh, it's maybe not. So you still get views, you just don't get many readers that will stay, because some of them would drop out. And then you get more exposure because when you do well, Webnovel tends to want to make you do better. So exposure, they will give you more feature slots and whatnot. And mainstream means higher profitability because you are writing exactly what the reader wants to see, and there's a higher chance that they will pay to see more, especially privilege. Make use of privilege. Okay, and then non-loyal readers. Okay, for Soundhammer's case, if you are always at work when they do those voice editor meeting, you can actually drop them messages on Discord. They will also reply you. It just takes a little bit longer. It's not as fast as the voice meeting, but it still works the same. Okay, so the cons of writing mainstream is you have non-loyal readers and a different community because, like I said before, mainstream readers are usually not that intelligent, and a lot of them are, just down on life, down on luck, looking for someone to vent their anger at. You get a lot of those toxic people and haters that you usually do not see in niche communities, so this is mainstream. And the cons for a writer who is not used to writing mainstream because you're a niche person is writing out of your comfort zone. For example, I have to complain, I am writing Monarch of Solitude, which is more mainstreamish than anything I've ever tried, and kingdom building is just not my thing. Kingdom building means science, means math, means geography, means physics, means all the things that I actually have no use at school, and then I now have to go in depth. So I'm like a geologist. I'm also like a scientist. I'm also like an engineer, and I have no clue how a grindstone works. So I went to Google and then I went to find out how a grindstone works, and trust me, it's not as simple as it looks. So there is science behind it. There is something called centrifugal force. There is something called dust static explosion. There is something called what was that again? Oh my god, I forgot. Ah, yeah, see, I am not good at this, but I finally understood like how it works and how miraculous things that are poured through it. Like if you pour beans into it, they come out as flour, something like that. Yeah, anyways, that is like really out of my comfort zone. And if you're writing mainstream and you're a niche author like me, you really have to do a lot of research. It's gonna stress you more than anything you've ever done, and writing might start to feel like a chore at some point. The last but not least is writer branding. Because if you're going to be a niche author and then you suddenly write something that's mainstream, you cannot expect that the readers who love you as a niche author will be able to accept your newest work, which is a mainstream. I I do ML, male lead, and I do BL. So I know this struggle the most because I have a lot of fans in the BL world, and I started as a BL writer on fanfiction. Then I started doing original works, and I find out that I like, sci-fi, I like fantasy, I like fighting, I like virtual reality, I like all these ML-ish kind of elements. Like, I love writing adventure-based stories. So, and then you trust me to do kingdom building without any signs of bromances. You can tell that all my readers from the BL section are, slightly more bored of it. That's like no good part of writing mainstream, especially if you're gonna be a niche author, because you gotta remove the elements that they love about you just to cater to the ones who would pay, like more readers who would pay, and you gotta dumb it down sometimes. So I feel very miserable writing the Monarch of Solitude, especially in season 1. Season 2, I was like, you know what, fuck it. If the readers stay through season 1, they'll stay through season 2. So I'm turning up the heat. So, like in yesterday's, not yesterday, 2 days ago, the previous live stream, I actually said that how to make a fusion is to do 80% mainstream, 20% niche. So you give them a burger, you give them fries, but you change their soda into chai tea. And then after that, in season 2, it's like gradually, you change their fries into baked fries, but still with chai tea and the same burger. And then maybe subsequently, you just give them a burger and then you change it into a salad bowl and chai tea. That's how you do it. That's a fusion. So it's a slow transition, like cooking a frog. You gotta be very, very discreet about it. When you cook a frog, I don't know how many people actually cook frogs, but this is an analogy that one of my teachers told me. It's gradual changes that makes the biggest impact. So if you throw a frog in boiling water, they would jump out of the pot. So what they do especially in Chinese restaurants, behind closed doors, they will put the frog in the water first and then they will turn on the fire. And the frog will not realize that they are being cooked alive. So they won't jump out. So that's how you want to treat your readers. You want to treat them like frogs. You want to slowly turn up the heat. So make them think that it's all safe and mainstream first. Make them fall in love with their current pot that they're in. And then turn on the fire into something that makes delicious meals. Yep, that's sounds weird, but it works, okay? You can trust me because I kind of am seeing paying readers now that I never saw when I wrote Ball of Nothing. As strange as it sounds, but yes, this is how it is. So niche pros and cons. So this one I shouldn't be saying much because I think most of us who are watching these videos are actually niche writers. Mainstream writers would never need to watch this kind of videos. They know what they are doing. So niche pros, you have a close knit community. You are very like personal with your readers. You're like friends, you're like besties. They follow you everywhere. They are loyal followers. They are your supporters. My supporters are called the Tiny Army. Just saying, this is the official fandom name for Destiny ICG. The comings of Tiny Army comes from my second half of Destiny. If you split Destiny to Des and Tini, it's not Tini, it's Tiny. It's spelled as Tiny, so it's Tiny Army. And I'm not very tall. I'm not even 5 foot, so yeah, the name stuck after that. I hate it somewhat, but it's kind of endearing if people claim to be Tiny Army. But anyways, so you have a strong writer identity as a niche author because niche authors are they're just one of a kind, and nobody can replicate you as a niche author because your ideas are yours and yours alone, original, that nobody else can afford to copy because they don't understand what's going on inside your brain. Unlike mainstream copies anything and everything that works. Niche, no, there's no such thing as copying, and niche works just because it comes out from our backdrop of our writer brain cells that we use very often, that mainstream authors don't actually use that much. They might use some, they might not use it that often. So, lack of visibility is the common key problem that a lot of niche authors face. Like, oh my god, there are 0 readers putting this in their library this week. And I've written this for a month that there are only 30 collections. There are only 30 people reading this in 1 month and I update daily. What's wrong? No, nothing is wrong with your book. Like, nothing is wrong in the way you write your book. It's just that because this is a niche, it tends to happen. Not a lot of people are looking for the kind of book that you are writing, therefore, they are not finding it because they don't exist. That's the problem. And then a small reader demand, which is exactly what I just said. Stagnant growth. So you might find that niche are like, oh my god, it's doing great this week, and then next week it's like, oh, everybody's disappeared. Where have they gone? That's because the readers that have already found your book have found it, and no new readers who are looking for things like that exist yet. You gotta wait until new users join the platform looking for something like this before they add your book to library, before they find you. And that's a little bit of a problem. So you lack visibility, you lack growth as a small reader demand, and it's lower profitability because you only have that few people. Even though they are loyal, they still need to pay their bills and they don't have a lot of money to feed you. Not everybody who reads your books are rich. Yeah, it is the same problem everywhere. Like 99% of the world's population are poor, kind of like me. So it's the same everywhere, and this is something that, well, you would face if you're doing niche as an author. So yeah, it is just what it is, man. So with that, I finally come to the end of my presentation. So whoever is still viewing the stream, if you have any questions, please ask now. Otherwise, I would end this and go back to listening to my Chinese BL drama series that I found very interesting. Oh, okay. Talise, that's because I'm using Restream to do it, and they don't have this fucking duo what that called, stereo audio input. Yeah, they don't have it. Even though they say that stereo audio input is enabled, they don't do it for me. So I'm kind of stuck when I do this for Restream and Restream only. But it's convenient, you see. Yes, Chinese drama BL series. Do you want me to introduce to you? I can DM you, but it's in Chinese and it's not English sub. It's just MP3 files. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's using Restream. I should use Streamlabs, but I was like so rushed. Today's my brother's birthday, so we kind of got celebrating, and then I kind of got drama binging, and then it got late, and I had to shower before I started stream. So I was like, you know what? I don't have time for this RNTP findings and settings. I'll just hit play and go live now at 9 p.m. and it's now 10. That was how long it was for me. Oh my god, I took actually an hour to go through 5 slides. What is wrong with me? I talk too much. Okay, so if you have no other questions, people, I shall get back to my Chinese drama binging. And I swear those two actors are like Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian, the original 动画 actors. But I can't confirm because I can't find any sources and my Chinese sucks. I'm Chinese, by the way. I just don't speak Chinese as well. I don't read Chinese. Yeah, but wow, it's just I can't believe it. They're like doing modern day. It's like modern day things. I was like, I want to get back to it now. I have probably 8 more episodes or something to watch. But yeah, nice to be here. Nice to answer your questions. This is actually a repeat stream, so I hope that restream doesn't delete it again. Because if they do, I'm not doing it ever again. Like no more. Like enough. It was so tiring to do this. But yeah, Soundhammer, DM your content editors about the synopsis that you have and listen to their opinions and advice. And if all fails, come to my Discord server. I'm there for you. Alright, so that's it for tonight. Thank you all for joining. It's been fun. Not really, but I'm not doing this again. Bye bye. Good night. I'm going back.